Part 28. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 271. As soon as Zhu natal magical power was revealed, he suppressed even this kid's Zhu Zhen. Originally, the blood mist of the imp's battle almost obscured Wu Yu's perception, but as soon as the disaster vortex emerged, negative forces swept across it. Wu Yu's eyes instantly became engulfed by the dark and ferocious whirlpool. It was intense, gloomy, and, the ferocious air of death, cold air, moisture, and evil spirits constantly spurted out from the whirlpool, as if the spiritual energy of heaven and earth it had swallowed was transformed into these dark forces. Zhu is indeed a terrifying demon with evil blood. However, he is doing a good deed now. If he can save thousands of Taoists, it will be a great merit. The whirlpool of disaster swept and expanded, and the dark atmosphere shook away. The Black Mountain Ghost Wing was swallowed up near the whirlpool of disaster in a blink of an eye. It was eroded and impacted by at least 9 kinds of forces. Zhu was trying his best to destroy the Black Mountain Ghost Wing. Swallowed into the whirlpool of disaster. Only in this way is it possible to truly traumatize Black Mountain Ghost Wing. Unexpectedly, the Black Mountain Ghost Wing was not a fuel-efficient lamp. It had 6 thick arms. At this moment, 6 dark, ferocious, almost identical flags appeared on his 6 arms. He roared, and then waving the 6-pole flag, its elixir was vast, and raging black flames suddenly appeared on the flag, which not only surrounded the Black Mountain Ghost Wing, but also expanded the whirlpool of disaster. I have this Ghost Mountain soul-eating fire. You can't even think of defeating me with this magical power. Demon boy, the power of your magical power is beyond my expectation. During the stalemate with Zhu, the black flames on the 6 flags surged and rolled crazily into Haishan Gi's body, causing extremely thick flames to condense on his body. For a moment, he was like a hell demon, crazy struggling, being swallowed by the whirlpool of disaster. Not only did he not go in, but he stretched his body to climb out of the whirlpool of disaster. Once he climbed out, Zhu's all-out attack would undoubtedly fail. The Black Mountain Ghost Wing was already laughing wildly. When he was laughing triumphantly, Zhu's face turned pale and his arms were slightly trembling. It was obvious that he was no longer able to control this magical power. Don't work in vain, 2 little kids. I have planned for at least 10 years for today. How can you, 2 little guys who are still young, make me suffer? Haishan Gi said proudly. And Wu Yu, who was behind Zhu, could see all this clearly. Now, under the immortal ape transformation and violent techniques, he was ready to the extreme, and his fiery power was simply unprecedented. The alchemy within the body is rolling vastly, especially the power of the physical body, which has climbed to the extreme. In particular, when the Zhufang demon suppressing pillar merged into one and became a golden 9-dragon coiled dragon pillar, many of its formations began to operate crazily under the effect of Dan Yuan, making him and the Zhufang demon suppressing pillar actually almost fusion into one. Buzz. Wu Yu saw the right opportunity, and when Haishan Gi was laughing carelessly, he passed between Zhu's 9 heads and appeared on top of Haishan Gi's head in an instant. Compared with giants and giant beasts, even if he has transformed into an immortal ape, he is only the size of Black Mountain Ghost Wing's arm, so naturally he does not attract much attention. Zhufang breaks the boundary. At that moment, on the Zhufang demonic suppression pillar, almost all the magic formations shone and merged to form a huge and magnificent magic formation. To break the boundary means to destroy the world. Wu Yu grasped one end of the Zhufang demonic suppression pillar, and the other section instantly became thicker and larger. It weighed tens of millions of kilograms. When Wu Yu suddenly shouted, it fell from the sky, tearing everything apart, even tearing apart. Black Mountain Ghost Wing's black flame defense hit him in an instant. If the opponent hadn't dodged for a moment, the 9-party boundary breaking stick would have hit his head. Even if it hits the shoulder, this shocking stick is extremely stunning. The simple swing shows the true meaning of the so-called fast and accurate, especially the 9-way boundary breaking formation, but it is used to the extreme. When Wu Yu's 9-way magic suppressing pillar when it came into contact with Black Mountain Ghost Wing's body, the power of breaking the boundary came out in full force. Snap! The shoulder of the Black Mountain Ghost Wing exploded, and one arm flew out. At the same time, its body cracked open, centering on the shoulder, showing a large scarlet blood stain. Of course, the Black Mountain Ghost Wing did not expect that Wu Yu would launch such a level of attack, so he was in extreme pain for a while and was directly blinded by Wu Yu. However, after performing the violent technique, Wu Yu still suffered from muscle soreness, and he might not be able to recover in a short time, because it was a moment of life and death, and he couldn't care about anything just now. Coupled with the 9-way boundary breaking technique of violence, Wu Yu was confident that even the stick might not be able to catch the rice. The biggest effect of the stick is that Black Mountain Ghost Wing was about to climb out of the whirlpool of disaster. Wu Yu suddenly came out and sealed his head with a stick. The terrifying force smashed Black Mountain Ghost Wing's arm and directly smashed it. It fell into the whirlpool of disaster. This scene was something Zhu never expected. When he discovered that the whirlpool of disaster had actually engulfed Black Mountain Ghost Wing, he was stunned for a moment, and was overjoyed. He quickly closed the vortex, and the pitch-black vortex instantly turned into a big gray rotating ball, completely trapping Black Mountain Ghost Wing inside. This is the second stage of his natal magical power. Only by swallowing the opponent into the whirlpool can he turn into this big rotating ball. In this blood mist, the big gray ball rotated violently, almost tearing apart the surrounding space. Press. The 9-infant giant beast rotated around the big gray ball, and a series of magic formulas were sprayed into the big gray ball. Then, while the big gray ball was rotating at high speed, it was shrinking almost at a speed visible to the naked eye. It could be vaguely heard. To the screams coming from the Black Mountain Ghost Wing inside. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Wu Yu understood that the real killer move of Zhu Ying's natal magical power was here. Only when the vortex of disaster swallowed the opponent could he use the power of disaster to crush the opponent into powder. Will Black Mountain Ghost Wing die? Wu Yu Guang's violent move almost reached the limit. Now his flesh and blood are sore and his whole body is weak. He can't help for the time being. If Haishan Gi died, it was due to the joint efforts of Wu Yu and Zhu Ying. Obviously, with Zhu Ying alone, Haishan Gi had already fought his way out of the whirlpool of disaster. Wu Yu naturally hated this ghost cultivator. His eyes were cold and stern, and his heart was in his throat. He stared at the big gray ball, waiting for the big ball to squeeze into a small size and completely destroy the ghost cultivator. It can be regarded as revenge for Hidayazai and the others. However, he still underestimated the power of Hidayazai. Just when Zhu Ying tried his best, the big gray ball suddenly smashed open, and a bloody light flew out from Wu Yu's eyes in an instant, disappearing in the blink of an eye in the little ghost formation. He escaped. Wu Yu gritted his teeth. Seeing that he could kill his opponent soon, he felt unwilling to do so. Fortunately, the other party was obviously injured, otherwise he would not have left, but would have taken advantage of Wu Yu and Zhu Ying to kill them directly. Zhu Ying was panting and said, "This time we joined forces and caught him by surprise. The other party was injured to a certain extent. But this ghost cultivator is very cunning. We are still trapped in this little devil's formation. If he comes back after he recovers, there is no doubt that he will die. And since he trapped us here, he could just ignore us and massacre the city, setting up his real ghost battle." Wu Yu tried his best to stay calm. He knew that even if the Shushan Soul Palace knew that its disciples had died in battle, it would take a certain amount of time to come over. The Black Mountain Ghost Wing had obviously calculated the time, so it was difficult to count on the people there. Only he and himself were left nearby. "Zhu Ying, so I can only rely on myself. There are tens of thousands of cultivators left. Although their lives have nothing to do with me, but after all, it is life, and no one will be allowed to kill innocent people. Especially when this ghost cultivator resorts to cruel methods. I am a cultivator. If I don't stop it, why should I practice such evil things? Wu Yu originally had a chivalrous heart. Even in this somewhat selfish monastic world, he has not changed. This is his original intention. The top priority is to find a way to leave this little devil's formation. Wu Yu and Zhu Ying basically had the same idea. How to do it? The problem is that Wu Yu doesn't know anything about magic circles now. His disadvantage is time. For example, Black Mountain Ghost Wing has been studying magic circles for who knows how many years, or even more than 200 years. This is a long-term experience. Wu Yu can hurt him, but it is difficult for someone like him to be skilled in magic. Achievements in battle. The 9 heads of Zhu said at the same time, we demons are worried about the magic circles of monks, so I have a little experience in breaking the formations. My experience is that all magic formations have formation bases and formation eyes, and these basically, they are all built on the ground. Now that the Black Mountain Ghost Wing has escaped and this little devil's formation lacks changes, we won't care so much and just smash it on the ground. If we hit it too much, we might be able to destroy the formation. This method is a bit silly, but it is also simple and crude. For 2 magic circle blind people, this is the only way. Okay, then hurry up, don't let Black Mountain Ghost Wing recover and take our lives. Wu Yu fell to the ground, grasped the 9 directions demon suppression pillar, divided it into 9 parts, and started smashing it on the ground, moving and smashing. Anyway, he knew that he couldn't get out by just smashing, so he might as well smash it on the ground. These are all destroyed. Now that Black Mountain Ghost Wing is gone, there is no change in the magic circle. It is also the only place where a random attack can be successful. After all, the real range of this little devil's formation may not be very large, just within the range of 10 piles of corpses before. It was hard work, but the 2 teenagers hardly complained. Zhu Ying used his head, claws, flesh wings and tail together to hit him harder. Wu Yu didn't expect that such a monster like him would be so concerned about this matter. In fact, he had the opportunity to leave directly and avoid this muddy water. Not to mention the life and death battle with Black Mountain Ghost Wing. Just as he was thinking about it, Zhu Ying said to him, Wu Yu, it seems that you are hiding everything. That stick just now scared me. Let me just say, how could someone with such thoughts like you possibly? He is a simple person, and today is my first time fighting alongside others. Although it is my first time, it seems that our cooperation is good, and Black Mountain Ghost Wing was stunned. If it weren't for good cooperation, they might be corpses now. \U003 cent \U003e \U003c /cente \U003e. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 272. Brother Zhu Ying is more powerful than I thought, Wu Yu said sincerely. Don't call me brother. To be honest, although I am a demon, I am probably younger than you. I have only been conscious for 15 years. Wu Yu really didn't expect it to be so exaggerated. 15 years old, he has the 7th level of demon elixir. This 9-year-old baby is too exaggerated. I have long thought that his bloodline is far beyond that of ordinary demons. He is born a demon, and there is no need to activate his spiritual wisdom and practice hard for thousands of years. It seems that his elders, I am afraid that there are big figures and big monsters in that endless demonic sea. Wu Yu had a little idea of this Zhu Ying. He actually smiled. He met the mysterious Nangong Wei in Shushan Mountain and went to the Shushan Samsara cave. Nangong Wei's status must be very high. Now that she has come out and met this Zhu Ying again, is it easy for her to get mixed up with the kind of proud people whose family background is outrageous? Forget it, Don't think too much. This Zhuiying is a demon. If this matter can be ended successfully, I will never get close to him again. Otherwise, I won't be able to return to Xusan, let alone see Wei. Thinking about Nangong Wei, it has been more than half a year. I don't know how hard her cultivation in Xusan Samsara cave has been. Some years have passed, and she is afraid that she will grow up again. Wu Yu never thought that he would look at a girl and wait for her to grow up. I really want to break one. Zhuiying smashed it randomly and suddenly felt that the kid's formation was shaking a little. It's been more than half an hour. It's really not easy. If we continue, we will probably destroy more than 5 of them, and this kid's formation will completely collapse, Zhuiying said with some excitement, and couldn't take any time off. Not long after, Wu Yu also felt that although he couldn't see anything in the blood mist, the Zhufang suppression demonic pillar would always damage something when it hit the ground. In order to survive and race against time, they worked even harder. The two of them barely communicated with each other. They were both going crazy and smashing each other. In this regard, Zhuiying was more gentle. Wu Yu was simply furious, even faster, just relying on the physical strength almost smashed through everything nearby. I discovered that you, a cultivator, are even more flesh and blood than me, a demon. Compared to us, you are the demon, Zhuiying said in surprise. He immediately understood that this was the reason why Wu Yu, who was only at the 3rd level of the Golden Core realm, was able to approach them. Wu Yu smiled and said nothing more. In fact, he has only cultivated the 2nd level of the Vajra indestructible body now. If time hadn't been so urgent recently, he would probably have started thinking about the 3rd level. Obviously, he has the conditions to practice the 3rd level, which is Minglong. He was not given the secrets, nor was he taught the golden cudgel for the time being. Moreover, Minglong also said that the cultivation of the 3rd level of the Vajra indestructible body still requires conditions, which can only be met but not sought. Wu Yu has not encountered such conditions for the time being. There is no need to rush first. Since she said this, Wu Yu stopped thinking about this aspect and concentrated on tempering the golden elixir. Minglong rarely talks to Wu Yu now, but Wu Yu is still very grateful to her for her guidance on the road of spiritual cultivation. Of course, she can't let her know about this, otherwise she will bluster again and make some deals with Wu Yu. It took about half a day. Because he didn't know what the situation of Black Mountain Ghost Wing was, Wu Yu was also very anxious. Finally, the hard work paid off. The 5th formation base seemed to be destroyed by Zhuiying. After a random collision, the imprisoned formation finally collapsed, revealing many loopholes. The two of them rushed out of the loopholes without saying a word. After coming out, what I saw was that the sky-splitting sword sect was still a hell on earth, with corpses everywhere. Looking around again, I found that there was no trace of the Black Mountain Ghost Wing at the moment. The other Xusan disciples had all gone west, and no one was there to help him. Wu Yu provided information. Looking at Zhuiying again, he was very anxious. Wu Yu thought deeply and said, "Zhuiying, to be honest, you just got into this incident by mistake, and the things here have nothing to do with you. You are a demon after all, and now that you have escaped from the little ghost array, why don't you leave?" Zhuiying was startled. In fact, he didn't think much about it. At this time, he smiled and said, "I don't know how to answer your question. To be honest, I think more rationally. This is a matter between the ghost cultivator and you Xusan. It's true. It has nothing to do with me, and it may be thankless. Why do you think I should fight for this? However, there are 2 things in my mind that make me do it." What 2 points? On the road to cultivating Taoism, Wu Yu sometimes encountered many struggles. In fact, Wu Yu was also confused, so he asked him for help. In fact, he also knows that his strength is far inferior to that of Black Mountain Ghost Wing, so why is he seeking death here? Zhuiying said seriously, First of all, although I am a demon, I still have that ridiculous sense of justice and mission in my heart. Killing tens of thousands of innocent people to improve my own realm is unreasonable and unconscionable. It's something that even a demon can't tolerate. I encountered it today, and I have already fought it. Otherwise, I will regret it in the future. This first point is the most important point in Wu Yu's heart. In this regard, he and Zhu Ying are the same. Then when it came to the second point, Zhu Ying looked at Wu Yu and said, "The second point is irrelevant, it is a personal matter. To put it simply, I, Zhu Ying, like you Wu Yu, and I have a kind of disregard for the hatred between humans and monsters. I want to be your friend, so I choose to stay here." He said it was irrelevant, but for Wu Yu, there was a kind of spiritual shock. As early as when he gave up the opportunity to escape for himself, Wu Yu regarded him as a brother. Wu Yu nodded and said, "Then, I won't say any more pretentious words. If we have a chance to meet again in the future, I won't let you down. Let's survive this time before we talk about the future." Zhu Ying smiled faintly. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. In fact, while they were talking, they were also looking for clues to see where the Black Mountain Ghost Wing had gone. It was difficult to judge the extent of his injuries now, but it was obvious that the longer time passed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Over there Wu Yu suddenly saw that in the sky in the distance in one direction, there was a faint smell of blood rushing into the sky. The smell of blood was even drifting this way. It could be seen that there seemed to be a strong wind in the sky over there. Howling, thunder flashing. That is, Fenglai Dao sect. Looking in other directions, there was no movement. "Let's go," Zhu Ying also saw it. He was flying rapidly in the body of a demon, hundreds of miles in an instant. Wu Yu was riding on his back. He took this opportunity to nurse himself back to health, because he knew in his heart that what would happen next was probably a fight to the death. As for the relationship with Zhu Ying, I feel a little bit sympathetic to each other. Wu Yu lived in the army in his early years, and actually understood very well that if there were one or two brothers fighting side by side in life, that would be a first-class blessing. It's just that the other party is a monster. Although he has no prejudice against monsters, Xuanhuan, and more importantly, Nangongwei, is absolutely not allowed to associate with monsters. Wu Yu felt deeply when he and Nangongwei were in the demonic abyss. The situation in front of him did not allow him to think about other things. Zhu Ying was desperately heading towards Fenglai Dao section. He was working hard here just for the 2 points he mentioned. There are really too few like-minded people. Wu Yu stood up, with the 9 directions demonic suppression pillar surrounding him. He was ready to fight. No matter how weak he was, he still wanted to help. Under the roar, in less than half an hour, the Fenglai Dao sect built on the cliff could be seen from a distance. This was the place where the two met. Today's Fenglai Dao sect is full of blood. Although no corpse has been seen for the time being, a thick mist of blood is rising from the Fenglai Dao sect and pouring into the dark clouds in the sky, dyeing the dark clouds and thunder and lightning red. The pungent smell of blood spread everywhere and drifted away. In the blink of an eye, Wu Yu and Zhu Ying, one person and one demon, landed in an open space outside the Fenglai Dao section. Suddenly, in the blood mist that soared into the sky, an old man of ordinary size appeared. Looking at his head, it was the former He Mingshan, the smaller head in the ghost body. The ghost cultivator Black Mountain Ghost Wing has recovered its true form and is hidden in the rolling blood mist. His face is slightly pale, but in the blood mist, it is getting better. "You righteous cultivators taste so good. You are so seriously injured. If you kill a few people, I will recover quickly." Haishan Gi stroked his beard and smiled kindly. Wu Yu and Zhu Ying looked at each other. The current Black Mountain Ghost Wing indeed looked terrifying, but its true reality was difficult to ascertain. Has his injury recovered? Have no idea. During the secret exchange between the two, Haishan Ghost Wing stared at Wu Yu and said, little guy from Xuanhuan, I underestimated you before. I didn't expect that you could hurt me even at the third level of the Golden Core realm. Obviously, you are probably a peerless genius in Xuanhuan. If you take into account this little devil with terrible blood, I'm afraid you can sell it for a lot of money. I'm thinking that you will kill the little devil. The formation is broken. The temporary formation still can't trap you. So, you came to disturb me again when setting up the Ghost Jew formation. You two ignorant children, don't you know how much the Ghost Jew formation means to me? Is it important? Stop talking nonsense and come out to fight. Wu Yu didn't know the situation of Fenglai Dao sect now, and was afraid that the two of them would rush forward and harm the people of Fenglai Dao sect. You have quite a temper, little guy. Black Mountain Ghost Wing laughed, still not taking them seriously. Suddenly, he put on a serious face, with an expression that meant he wanted to laugh but was holding back, and said, "Do you know what I was called when I was in the East China Sea?" No one answered him, but he was very proud and said, "They call me array crazy because I am a genius in studying magic formations. I am familiar with thousands of magic formations and have deployed a large number of attack and killing formations. I have made many magic weapons, talismans, etc. Previously, I spent 3/4 of an hour setting up the little ghost array. But this time, in order to welcome you out of the little ghost array and make you two children behave well, I spent half a day building a gate of hell, waiting for you to take the bait. Didn't you expect that you are now standing on the gate of hell?" After saying that, he chuckled. /U003 sem /U003 e /U003 sem /U003 follow the official QQ public account, ID, love, read it early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003c/m /U003e /U003c/m /U003e. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 273. The Gates of Hell. When I first heard this name, I felt horrified. Obviously, this is the Black Mountain Ghost Wing carefully prepared for them, anticipating that they will appear here. It is definitely a much stronger magic circle than the Xiaogui Ju formation. To these two young geniuses, Hai Shengi is definitely an old fox. This time, he has obviously let the other side plot against him again. Black Mountain Ghost Wing had obviously not recovered from his severe injuries. If they fought at this time, he would probably be killed by Wu Yu and Zhu Ying together. Therefore, he made preparations in advance and set up a trap here that Wu Yu and the two did not understand, waiting for the two of them. People take the bait. In fact, this is also common sense. Wu Yu and Zhu Ying are both too young, and the research and control of the magic circle require a long period of study and cost a lot of money. They now stand at the gates of hell. The moment Hai Shengi said these words, Wu Yu and Zhu Ying noticed the instantaneous changes in the surrounding ground. In just an instant, a circle about a kilometer in diameter appeared under their feet, consisting of black and red lines, with various shapes. A magic circle composed of mysterious symbols. The magic circle has complex lines and mysterious movements. It vaguely reveals the shape of a door. This circular door is the door to hell. Buzz. The magic circle appeared, and the space within a kilometer completely enveloped Wu Yu and Zhu Ying. There must be lava activity in the ground near the Wind and Thunder Dao sect, and the wind and thunder will gather in the sky. I will send you two to the lava underground. Even if you don't get burned to death, you want to dig a way out of such a deep underground. Come on, it will take 10 days. By then, I will have succeeded. Outside the magic circle, Hai Shengi's proud smile could be heard. Perhaps in his eyes, Wu Yu and Zhu Ying were indeed too young. From Hai Shengi's words, Wu Yu's heart flashed, and he roughly understood the effectiveness of this gate to hell. He said that there was magma under the ground, and he obviously wanted Wu Yu and the two of them to fall deeply into it. So obviously, this gate of hell can open a door that throws them into the ground. It almost looks like it leads to hell. No wonder it's called the gate of hell. Let's go. Both of them wanted to break away from the shackles of the magic circle and rush out. Enjoy the feeling of despair. Black Mountain Ghost Wing's voice penetrated into the magic circle and echoed in their ears. In an instant, thousands of strands stretched out from the magic circle, like a giant net that instantly entangled Wu Yu and Zhu Ying several times. Haishan Ghost Wing now knows their capabilities very well. He spent a lot of money and energy to build the gate of hell specifically for them. How could Wu Yu and his two men escape when they have already entered the trap? Buzz. Suddenly, the magic circle rioted. Wu Yu suddenly discovered that the ground under his feet had suddenly softened, as if it had turned into a vast ocean. And he and Zhu Ying, who were entangled and locked by the magic circle, seemed to have a mountain tied to their bodies. They were extremely heavy and still, without being able to resist, he sank directly into the ground and into the gate of hell. For a moment, Wu Yu watched with his own eyes as he sank deep into the endless underground. It was like a bottomless pit. The soil, rocks, and even many underground creatures had melted directly. Wu Yu even passed through a rock and stood there. He felt that the rock was like cotton. 9 infants. At this moment, Wu Yu was naturally struggling desperately. He even used violent techniques. Under the condition of the immortal ape transformation, he gritted his teeth and tore apart. Unexpectedly, the stronger he got, the tighter the magic circle wrapped around him became. It was so tight that it sank deeply into his flesh and blood. Thousands of threads entangled him tightly, condensing into a black and red cocoon outside him. On the other side, the physical strength is not as good as Wu Yu's Zhu Ying, nor is it much better. At this moment, after experiencing the 10,000 swords formation, the little ghost formation and the gate of hell formation, and then feeling the 9 palaces dragon formation and the 9 directions boundary breaking formation on the magic weapon, he deeply realized how terrifying the magic formation was. Even in this prosperous monastic world, most of it is composed of magical formations, from magic weapons to talismans, to machine puppets, to attack and kill formations, defense formations, and all kinds of wonderful formations. At the same level, a cultivator who is good at magic formations may be much stronger than a monk who is not good at magic formations. Most of the people who study magic circles are very smart. This smartness can be used in battle and can even defeat opponents who are stronger than him. For example, Black Mountain Ghost Wing had laid out a trap. Although he was careless and severely damaged before, at this time, he still easily eliminated Wu Yu and the two of them, so he could concentrate on setting up his ghost array. Although Wu Yu's 2 corpses were missing, with Hideyazai and the others, they were at least barely enough. The 2 of them sank too fast, like death. They fell into the hell. Wu Yu could even see the changes in the layers of rock and soil underground. The deeper they went, the more ancient they became. Of course, maybe it was the Black Mountain. Guy mentioned that the relationship between the underground magma and the deeper they went down, the more terrifying the heat they felt. Although Wu Yu has never seen magma, he has also seen volcanic eruptions. The liquid sea of fire under the ground is bubbling, and even steel will quickly vaporize if it falls. Boom! The gate of hell was very fast. In the blink of an eye, the land was transformed through the magic circle, and Wu Yu and Zhu Ying were thrown into the depths of the ground. It was getting hotter and hotter, and it was terrifyingly hot. Wu Yu had a strong resistance to flames. Even when he was in the underground, he was sweating all over, and his flesh and blood were burned red. He realized that they were obviously deep underground. If they continued like this, they would probably crash directly into the underground magma. At this moment, Zhu Ying seemed to break through the shackles of the magic circle and regained his freedom. In the next moment, Zhu sharp tail like a spear pierced in and tore open the magic circle around Wu Yu. Wu Yu took the opportunity to escape and regain your freedom. But it's actually a bit late. At this moment, Wu Yu looked down and was shocked. This was a hollow area under the ground, but the problem was that there was a piece of golden, boiling magma under his feet. The hot lava stirred, burned, and the scorching breath rose up. Immediately steamed up one person and one demon until they turned red. Not to mention Zhu Ying, even Wu Yu was a little unbearable. Looking further up, there is endless mud and rocks. They have no idea how deep underground they are. This is a place that is difficult for ordinary people to reach. Moreover, a magic formation like the Gate of Hell is probably only available to ghost cultivators, so there are probably not many people in the Divine Continent who have experienced the same thing as them. The two quickly moved away from the boiling lava at their feet. Among them, Zhu Ying was more anxious and soared up. Now that the power of the Hell Gate array had disappeared, he rushed forward as a demon, fearing that he would directly attack the soil and rocks above. Explode a road directly to the outside. No, Wu Yu quickly stopped him. Why? Zhu Ying was a little confused. Wu Yu looked above and said, the soil and rocks in the ground are piled up together. We don't know how much land is above us. If we smash it violently, it will inevitably cause a landslide. Then so much land will press down and press them in, it's hard not to die in the lava at your feet. Fortunately, they escaped from the Gate of Hell in this hollow place and had a chance to breathe. Otherwise, they would have been squeezed directly into the soil or magma. Then what should we do to get out? The Black Mountain Ghost Wing will definitely take advantage of this period of time to heal his wounds, continue to kill people, and complete his ghost array. This area is deserted, and except for us, I am afraid no one can stop him anymore. Zhu Ying frowned. Road. Wu Yu said, we can only dig with small movements to carve out a passage. The movement cannot be too big. Just carving out a passage will probably not have much impact on the underground land. After all, they are not ordinary mortals, they are just dignified ascetics and big demons. It is really embarrassing to dig out the soil here. This is the only way to go. Zhu Ying rushed forward with his demon body. His huge body, 9 heads, and all 4 limbs were used to dig upward very quickly. In the blink of an eye, it extended hundreds of meters upward. Under this premise, the land above his head was still stable and won't collapse. Wu Yu calculated the time. Judging from the speed at which he fell down just now, it would take at least several days to dig up at this speed, but the surrounding sect forces would suffer even if it takes half a day. This time he suffered another loss. Wu Yu felt angry in his heart, his blood surged, and his face turned livid. He had always plotted against others, and today he was plotted against by the ghost cultivator. Although he was not dead, he could only wait here, even turning a blind eye. Seeing those monks being killed and being used as materials for the Black Mountain Ghost Wings to create the Oniju formation, how could they not be irritable and angry? When you're tired, let me take over, Wu Yu said. There is no advantage for 2 people to dig the tunnel together. It's okay. However, we have to think about it. Even if we go out, Black Mountain Ghost Wing will probably recover. So with just the 2 of us, I'm afraid we won't be able to suppress him anymore. This is even more of a major issue. With Black Mountain Ghost Wing's intelligence, how could he make the same mistake twice? Now there is absolutely no one to restrict him, and the people outside are probably in ruins. Wu Yu is anxious. He looked at the lava below. The golden lava looked like burnt steel, steaming out and even splashing upwards. Its temperature was much higher than Wu Yu had imagined. It turns out that the underground lava activity will also cause wind and thunder to gather above the wind and thunder Dao section. These are the knowledge of the monastic world, and only people like Haishan Gi, who use the power of heaven and earth to set up magic circles, know so much. However, Wu Yu always felt that the lava was rolling and the entire area was circular, as if it were a golden moon hidden underground. Suddenly, Ming Long said, "Wu Yu, do you know what luck is?" "But I'm blessed by nature." Ming Long asked again, "Do you know what it means to be a person with great luck? While walking, what if there is divine help? No matter how dangerous it is, can it be saved?" Ming Long chuckled and said, "That's the kind of person you are. In terms of luck, you are 10 times better than me. You and I have the same inheritance, but I died in a foreign land, but you always put yourself to death and survived. This is the reason." "What exactly do you want to say?" Wu Yu was puzzled. "You're just lucky," Ming Tong said. \U003 cent \U003e \U003c /cente \U003e. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 274. What kind of bullshit luck, Wu Yu wondered. Now that the situation is so bad, how can he be lucky? "Be polite to me, otherwise you will miss a good fortune." Ming Long appeared in front of him, with his hands in his vagina, and he said proudly, "Auntie, please stop teasing me. It's a life and death situation. It's better to help more and accumulate some merit. It will also be good for you." Wu Yu naturally knew that Ming Long was well informed and she would not cheat him on key matters. "That's right. I committed evil in my previous life and died so early. In order to be reborn, I have to accumulate more merit," Ming Long suddenly realized. After finishing speaking, under Wu Yu's earnest eyes, she pointed to the lava at her feet and said, "In this land of yours, all living things have been nourished for countless years. Whether it is in the sky, on the ground or even below, it is possible for treasures to form. Or fairy spirits, or precious mineral metals, or some treasures. Of course, there are other types of treasures. For example, there is ordinary magma under the ground, and there are also spiritual veins due to changes in the terrain over time. The special magma formed by nourishment. The temperature of the magma under your feet is 10 times that of ordinary magma. It is round, does not escape, does not flow, and is as if it is still. Its name is, underground bayou furnace." No wonder Wu Yu felt that the lava was so hot that it even penetrated to the surface. What is the purpose of this underground treasure moon furnace? Since Ming Long said he was a treasure, he was definitely right. Ming Long curled his lips and said, "This is where I say your luck is unlucky. When other people encounter this underground bayou furnace, it will naturally be of no use at all, and they will die if they fall in. But you, it just so happens that's what's needed most." At this point, Wu Yu's eyes lit up, and with Ming Long's prompts, he made some rough guesses. "Yes, do you remember that you once wanted to figure out the third level of the indestructible body, but I told you that you lacked an extremely important condition?" Wu Yu naturally remembered it, but Ming Long loved to act mysterious and not tell him what the conditions were. Obviously, this condition is now at hand. Thinking about it this way, his luck is indeed like a god's help. If it weren't for Black Mountain Ghost Wing, in a few years, he would probably have discovered the underground bayou furnace. Ming Long said seriously, "Underground magma is roughly divided into 3 categories based on levels. The first category is the most common, and the second category is the underground treasure moon furnace. This is actually the core of underground magma within 100,000 miles. It contains the hottest part and is nourished by eternal spiritual veins. The third type is very terrifying. It is called the underground Hao Sun furnace. It must be that the scorching sun penetrates the ground for countless years and has more than 10 spirits. The entire Dongsheng divine continent may only have 1 or 2 underground cores that can only be achieved after countless years of evolution. Let's not talk about this one. How does this relate to the third level? That's the point." Ming Long knocked on his head and said, "Idiot, it's obvious that if you can swallow this underground treasure moon furnace clean, you can succeed in the third level. Of course, this process is painful and thrilling. If you fail, this underground treasure moon furnace will be wasted. The specific method is naturally introduced and guided in the third level. What is a small success? How long does it take? Wu Yu was still anxious. What he lacked most was time. This Vajra indestructible body has 10 levels in the first level, which is just the foundation. There are 6 levels in the second level, which increase the inner level, and the third level only has 2 levels in total, which are Xiaocheng and Dacheng, which are used to increase the outer level. At the third level, it is when the indestructible body of the Vajra is truly powerful and when it truly shows its edge. If you are gifted with transcendental talent, you will be able to achieve success in less than 3 days. If you are dull, you will be able to achieve success in as many days as possible. No, I'm afraid you'll have to be burned to death before you can achieve the golden body. To put it bluntly, it has nothing to do with time. The third level of success depends on luck, will, mentality and persistence. Therefore, Wu Yu came to the conclusion that as long as he dared to go down, he would probably succeed. In fact, he knew very well that if he was not strong enough, even if he got out before Black Mountain Ghost Wing succeeded, what would happen? Most likely, he would still have to die on the spot. But the gate of hell gave him a chance. He did not expect that the third level of the indestructible body would be the real explosion of the physical body after consolidating the foundation. Ming Tong saw that he was determined and courageous, and he actually admired him secretly. Of course, as for the thrill and pain of this adventure, she had experienced it before but did not want to tell Wu Yu. In fact, the possibility of failure was more than 70%. After all, Wu Yu's current capital was far less than hers at that time. And she also encountered the second underground Beiyu furnace and succeeded just now, but the feeling was that life was worse than death. She hid all this and said to Wu Yu, if you can absorb the entire underground treasure moon furnace into your physical body to form the Namo treasure moon King Buddha's golden body, it will be considered a small success. After achievement, with the strength of your physical body, enough to be invulnerable to water and fire, your physical body is more than 10 times stronger now, which will be of great help to the battle. Although your elixir is not strong by then, it will be enough for you to catch up with Jin. It's the 7th level of the Dan Dao realm. It's terrifying to cross the 4th level, isn't it? Indeed, she said that Wu Yu was extremely yearning for him. Ming Long persuaded him and said, this is only a small success. If you can find the underground Haori furnace and practice the Namo Haori King Buddha golden body, the third level will be considered a great success, which will be even more terrifying. Of course, 1. You can't find it, and 2. You can't bear the underground Haori furnace now. Compared with Haori, Beiyu is indeed too gentle. The difference is that one is in the sky and the other is on the ground. The Namo Haori King Buddha golden body is too far away for Wu Yu. At present, he only focuses on the underground Beiyu furnace. He wants to succeed as soon as possible and catch up with Zhu and others. But there is a problem. Would Ming Long give him this third-level method so simply? Wu Yu stared at her. Ming Long laughed dryly and said, well, actually, you really got the upper hand by trading with me. This time, my request is also very simple, just a little bit. That is, you have to promise me that after I am reborn, you have to give me a divine instrument. The divine instrument is really a lion's mouth. Wu Yu found that the conditions proposed by Ming Long, from the beginning of the heavenly Dao divine pill, and then more and more, if it goes on like this, Wu Yu feels that he owes her more and more, and he feels a little depressed. Wu Yu is a person who finds it difficult not to do what he promised. He has no idea about real gods now, so he doesn't know what Ming Long said, but Wu Yu has thought it through. As the saying goes, things will work out when they reach the bridge. His relationship with Ming Long has improved a lot now. In fact, if Wu Yu really has the opportunity to become a fairy, he will definitely give more than this reward for this friendship. Of course, Ming Long used to be known as the world's demon, and this cautious, suspicious, and insecure character will not disappear. No problem, Wu Yu agreed. If I had to figure out the golden hoop by myself, I'm afraid I wouldn't have enough time. Now the situation is urgent, so I can't care too much. Looking at the boiling underground Beiyu furnace below, Wu Yu made a decision. Before that, he had to explain it to Zhu. Zhu, I have a way. I have to take a risk with this magma. No matter what happens to me next, don't worry about it. Just go out and stop the Black Mountain Ghost Wing. How about it? Wu Yu suddenly said. Zhu was stunned. The nine heads looked at him, then looked at the underground lava. Without saying much, he nodded, which was enough to reassure Wu Yu. Everything is ready. Wu Yu had read the full text of the Vajra indestructible body before, but he just couldn't remember it. Now when Ming Long read out those words one by one, he seemed to be back in that dream. He stood between heaven and earth, and in front of him was the Optimus Prime that pierced the sky. It was more domineering and huge than the Qingtian Shushan mountain. On the Ruyijing Gubang, the Vajra indestructible body written on it gradually became clear. Wu Yu had memorized the first 2,000 words by heart. Ming Long read it again, and the third level of words appeared on the Ruyijing Gubang. It was extremely clear, shocking, and deep into the bone marrow. Each golden word was extremely mysterious, as if it contained tens of thousands of changes. When combined together, it had many unpredictable meanings. With more insights, golden light began to emerge from his body, as if one word after another appeared directly on Wu Yu's body and on his body surface, densely packed. At this time, Zhu stopped. He found that Wu Yu's body was even more dazzling than the lava under his feet. The mysterious golden text was like a blazing sun with thousands of feet of light, burning fiercely. Just looking at it for a few times, he felt sore eyes. Wu Yu's body is rare in the world. He is probably inherited from the ancient cultivators. If he doesn't die today, he will definitely be a brilliant figure in Shenzhou in the future. Zhu sighed in his heart, and then continued to work hard. He was also very anxious. What is he going to do? When he was wondering, he actually saw that Wu Yu, regardless of everything, actually fell into the magma. In a blink of an eye, the magma covered his body. Wu Yu's expression was extremely hideous, painful, and struggling, but he did not stop. In a very short time, the whole person was immersed in the depths of the magma. For a while, the magma seemed to be still. Zhu was about to save him, but he remembered Wu Yu's previous explanation and held back. Let's see if he can change. Otherwise, all the monks around here are in danger. In fact, if they had known that Black Mountain Ghost Wing was so difficult to deal with, the first thing Wu Yu and his team should have done was to disperse all the monks, and then Black Mountain Ghost Wing would be helpless. Unfortunately, as soon as Black Mountain Ghost Wing appeared, he took away the lives of Hideyazai and others, leaving them no time to react. Immersed in this underground Beiyu furnace, Wu Yu did not expect that the process of forging the Namo Beiyu Wang Buddha golden body would be so terrifying. /U003 cent /U003e /U003c /sente /U003e. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 275. Chapter 274 Humanoid Monster. Enjoy it slowly. I didn't tell you it was this difficult because I was afraid you wouldn't dare to come down. Now that you're down, work hard, ahem. Ming Long didn't dare to speak until the end. When she practiced the Namo Beiyu Wang Buddha golden body, she was quite different from Wu Yu. Even she couldn't bear it at that time, let alone Wu Yu now. Entering the magma is more terrible than burning molten iron. Even if Wu Yu achieved the inner Vajra Buddha, he could only keep his life and struggle, not to mention swallowing all the magma around into his body and forging it into the third level of Vajra indestructible body. In this process, the most important thing is probably not talent, the understanding of the formula, but the amazing will and the will to survive. The formula is indeed complicated, but Wu Yu has a deep foundation. After reciting it a few times, he can roughly understand its mystery. The key is to endure and resist this underground Beiyu furnace. Beiyu. Looking down from Zhu position, the golden magma looked more like a full moon in the ground. An hour had passed, and Wu Yu still had no movement. If he could not still feel his life breath, he would almost think that he had turned into ashes in the magma. I only know that his body is strong, but I didn't know it was forged in this way. In the world of cultivation, talent alone is not enough, but also requires extraordinary will. Zhu was deeply moved. He couldn't imagine what kind of torture Wu Yu was enduring in the depths of the magma at this moment. How could he bear not to rush out? In the depths of the magma, the surrounding magma had been rotating around him, and the scorching breath had burned most of Wu Yu's flesh and blood, even revealing his white bones. His bones seemed to be cast in gold. In fact, the first half of the process is not forging, but changing, the preparation stage. This process is the most painful. It requires forging with the third level of the indestructible body of Vajra in the burning process of lava, changing one's body, and creating billions of swallowing points on the flesh. These swallowing points absorb the lava to form a network, and finally let Wu Yu and the underground Beiyu furnace merge perfectly. Fortunately, this process will not take too long as you can hold on. If it takes too long, you must be tortured to death first. Even so, this is like the most terrible torture in the world, which shocked Wu Yu. How did this indestructible body of Vajra come into being? In the end, he was numb with pain and could only create swallowing points mechanically. Many thoughts in his heart supported him to move forward. What emerged in front of him was the desire for the top of Qingtian Shushan Mountain, the longing for the people of Tongtian Sword Sect, the figure of Wu Yu in the Dongguo Palace, and the figure of Nangong Wei in the Shushan Samsara Cave, which often emerged and became his motivation to continue. Finally, his body was covered with shining, millions of golden dots. Half a day had passed, Zhu looked down, and this time he saw a change. It turned out that in the depths of the magma, there seemed to be something more shining, even covering the light of the magma, as if there was a sun inside. Moreover, the magma, which was originally as dead, suddenly rioted and boiled, as if someone was adding fire to it, and even in the boiling process, it was still decreasing. At the same time, Wu Yu's violent, rough screams and roars, along with the boiling magma, burst out together. From a distance, the entire Beiyu was shaking. Inside, it was as if a giant beast had awakened and roared. He might succeed. Zhu stopped his hand movements. After spending half a day, he still didn't know how far he was from the surface. Now he was afraid that he could still pin his hopes on Wu Yu. But Zhu could never have imagined that what Wu Yu really wanted to do was to swallow all the lava into his body, so as to forge a stronger and more terrifying body. For Wu Yu, this moment was a rebirth of nirvana. Why did he roar? That was because of the pain and hardship. However, this could not stop him. His heart was still full of yearning for becoming an immortal, yearning for being strong, and being responsible for the common people, especially the hatred for the Black Mountain Ghost Wing, which gave birth to endless fighting spirit in his heart. Suddenly I remembered a sentence from the Tongtian Sword Sect. Practicing is plundering, and only when you are strong can you be chivalrous. Practicing is plundering, plundering the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, plundering other people's finances, and even plundering the essence of magma. Power comes from plundering. And only when you are strong can you do what you want to do and be chivalrous in the world. If you are weak and killed by others, what chivalry can you talk about? That's why Wu Yu was determined in his heart that no matter what he went through, he would move towards becoming strong. Tens of thousands of cultivators, regardless of whether they were of the same path or not, could not die tragically like this. So he roared like a giant beast, but he did not slow down at all. Boom boom boom. The lava under Zhuang's feet even rose up violently, and some of it fell on him, burning instantly, burning several bloody holes on his body. Zhuang screamed in pain, his expression even more shocked. This experience made him truly realize that the magma under his feet seemed to be no ordinary magma. Its heat was several times more than he had imagined. If he fell down, he would probably turn into ashes within a few breaths. How did he do it? Zhuang was a little confused when he heard Wu Yu's beast-like roar. Then he discovered a fact, that is, the magma under his feet was decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye, while the shining point in the center, like a scorching sun, was getting brighter and brighter. This undoubtedly showed that Wu Yu was swallowing these magmas to forge himself. Standing in the sky, it can be seen that the full moon is gradually shrinking. This person is really a demon among humans. Zhuang has never admired anyone, but this time, Wu Yu made him admit that he is inferior. This is not in terms of talent, but in terms of will. In fact, Wu Yu was greatly influenced by the Monkey King, and had several life and death struggles, so he has the perseverance he has now. Especially the escape from death brought by the immortal Xuanhuan, which made him deeply experience despair. From then on, he insisted on those hard-won opportunities more than anyone else. In this way, Zhuang watched the entire full moon shrinking, the magma was swallowed, and the place where Wu Yu was completely became a miniature version of the scorching sun day. The scorching sun continued to explode and shake, setting off waves of fire. For Zhuang, he felt that Wu Yu at this time was even hotter than the previous lava. In fact, what was formed on Wu Yu's body was not the scorching sun, but the treasure moon. Of course, the full moon in the sky is the weakened scorching Sunday. Now the full moon appears in front of him, which is actually similar to the scorching sun. Whoosh! The fire waves surged, the flames burned, and after a day, the entire underground treasure moon furnace was almost completely dry. Zhuang no longer had to worry about falling down. Instead, Wu Yu, who had turned into a full moon, stood outside. Zhuang could vaguely see him sitting cross-legged in the full moon, closing his eyes to rest his mind. He could vaguely see his flesh and blood body, which was now undergoing a transformation. The forging of the golden body of MaleProtagonist Buddha had entered the final stage, which was considered consolidation. At this time, all the pain and hardship had passed, which basically meant that Wu Yu had succeeded. As an outsider, Zhuang could not feel the hardship that Wu Yu had endured, let alone experience the terrifying struggle in more than a day, but he knew it in his heart, and at this time he was sincerely happy for Wu Yu. The most important thing is that now that the lava is gone, I don't have to worry about falling down. Maybe I can wreak havoc and smash a passage directly to the surface. Before, I was only worried about the endless lava below, but now it's empty. Then Wu Yu obviously sped up. Within about 2/4 of an hour, the entire Baya completely gathered into his body. Now Wu Yu's skin is white and golden. Just from the outside, it seems that there is no difference from before, but in fact, his MaleProtagonist Buddha golden body has been successful, and the whole person is completely different. Looking closely, it can be found that there is a full moon behind his body, and the light is dazzling. His flesh, bones, skin, tendons, blood vessels, brain, etc. have all been strengthened tenfold. Now, with a wave of his hands and feet, he can shake the earth. At this moment, Wu Yu suddenly opened his eyes, and a ray of light suddenly appeared in his eyes, and immediately rushed into the sky. At this moment, 2 upward passages were pierced. In a short moment, the passages penetrated from above were longer than those that Zhuang had worked hard to dig for a period of time. This was the first release of the physical strength in his body. In fact, the achievement of the golden body of MaleProtagonist Buddha was not only a physical strength that was more than 10 times stronger than before, but also many other means, such as the penetrating power of this gaze, which was one of them. From now on, Wu Yu estimated that no matter how strong the existence was, he would probably feel pressure when looking at himself. Although those eyes were black, their charm was incomparable. All over his body, he only needed to use his strength, and suddenly the golden veins all over his body emerged, forming a golden network on Wu Yu's body. The most terrifying thing was that the things flowing in those golden networks were nothing else, but the magma that Wu Yu had swallowed before. Now his body was like hiding the entire underground Bayou furnace. Just opening his mouth and spitting out the magma could burn a large number of Jindan strongmen to death. In terms of realm, although he was only the third level of Jindan Dao realm, Wu Yu's power in the flesh now even exceeded Danyuan. Others' Danyuan is at least 10 times stronger than their physical bodies, but Wu Yu's physical power has surpassed Danyuan, which is rare in the world. For example, the effect of the physical body of a top demon like Zhuiying is actually less than half of Danyuan, or even about 1/3. Of course, Wu Yu's white golden elixir is of heaven-defying quality. Now, Wu Yu feels that he is not like a cultivator, but more like a super high-level martial arts master. All his power is not in Taoism, but just smashing and fighting with martial arts skills, which is terrifying. He stood up, his bones crackling, and even Zhuiying gasped when facing him head-on. Mobile phone users. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 276. The Golden Body of Namo Precious Moon King Buddha. His self-feeling has indeed surpassed that of before. No wonder Ming Long said that this is when the indestructible body of the Vajra truly shows its power. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward arrow. Even when he moved his hands and feet, he couldn't control his strength. When he breathed, he could spray out a lot of thick smoke from his mouth and nose. The rocks and soil next to it began to vaporize immediately after being glanced at by his gaze. You could almost see the substance of his gaze, penetrating through the layers of soil. Just blow a breath, and there will be a roar in front of you, and a large amount of rock and soil will turn into ashes in front of your eyes. He raised his arms, and under the pull of qi, everything around him began to vibrate and roar in the deep underground. At this moment, Wu Yu had the feeling that he had become a god between heaven and earth, and that with every punch and kick, the sky could fall apart. All over his body, there was endless magma rolling inside his body. Now Zhuiying looked down and saw that there was no lava anymore. Except for Wu Yu's body, there was darkness all around. The location where they were located was just a small empty space under the endless underground. Wu Yu gradually controlled the surging and explosive power of his body, allowing himself to cool down and become just like an ordinary person. The power of the underground Bayou furnace completely integrated him into every particle of his body. Only then did Zhuiying look at him in shock. At this time, Zhuiying had already transformed into a human form. He was still the pale boy with long flowing hair and an enchanting appearance. Together with Wu Yu's domineering, leering and sharp temperament, he formed a perfect combination. Very sharp contrast. I can feel that you have made great progress. Congratulations, Zhuiying said sincerely. Wu Yu said, I am lucky this time. It was the Black Mountain Ghost Wing that sent me here, otherwise I would not have discovered this underground treasure moon furnace. I just thought this lava was different from ordinary ones. It turns out it has this name, Zhuiying said. Wu Yu nodded. The whole process took about a day, which was not too long, but it was undeniable that for them, every minute and every second was urgent. Now that the magma is gone, I'll give it a try and see if I can get out of here through violent bombing. Wu Yu and Zhuiying looked at each other. Zhuiying said, that's exactly what I meant. Previously, I was worried about the indiscriminate bombing and detonating the underground Bayou furnace. If the magma breaks out of the surface and is enough to burn thousands of miles of mountains and rivers, it will also be a disaster. However, Zhu felt that he was not good at it, so he left this matter to Wu Yu, who was physically terrifying. Wu Yu had already taken out the 9 directions suppressing demonic pillar, and the 9 directions suppressing demonic pillar was surrounding and flying. In the process, it quickly merged into a coiled dragon pillar, with 9 golden dragons surrounding it, lifelike. When Wu Yu stretched out a hand and held it on the 9 directions suppressing demon pillar, the 9 directions demon suppressing pillar formed. The demon suppressing pillar felt how powerful it was at this moment, and it actually vibrated, roared, and even roared like a dragon. Buzz. The surrounding area also trembled. Under Wu Yu's control, the 9 directions suppressing demonic pillar was gradually growing. In the blink of an eye, it was already 10 people as long as Wu Yu and 1 foot thick in diameter. At this time, Wu Yu hugged the 9 directions suppressing demonic pillar with both hands. And break it for me. He roared angrily, landed on the ground, and then rose into the sky. The ground beneath his feet cracked first, and the earth shook for a moment. Wu Yu hugged the 9-way demon suppressing pillar, which turned into a shining golden light, like a string. The arrow instantly hit the end of the tunnel that Zhu had dug for a long time. Follow me, Wu Yu said to Zhu. No problem. Zhu smiled faintly, and a black shadow kept flickering behind Wu Yu, like a ghost. Boom. Next, there was an unimaginable huge movement. The 9 directions demonic suppression pillar was like a gigantic beast existing underground, soaring into the sky. For a moment, Wu Yu felt like it was piercing the sky. Under its violent impact, the ground is rising upwards. Zhu felt as if the whole world was collapsing for a moment. The land above Wu Yu's head was being pushed upwards, while the surrounding areas were falling. For a moment, the sky was shattering, rocks were flying, and earthquakes were happening one after another. He could only focus on chasing that golden light, otherwise if Wu Yu rushed out, he might still be buried in this deep underground. This physical power is truly terrifying to the extreme. No demon can compare with Bai at the same level. While Zhu was shocked, as Wu Yu waved the 9 directions demon suppressing pillar again and again, above the surface, with the cliff of Fenglai Dao sect as the center, the ground within a radius of hundreds of miles instantly turned into a vast ocean. For a time, countless ground cracks revealed the deep underground, countless mountain peaks collapsed, and many rivers leaked directly into the cracks. This large area of land was torn apart again and again. It was obvious that the Fenglai Dao sect on the cliff would not be able to survive even if there was a method. Formation guard, many buildings were directly torn apart for a while. The entire Fenglai Dao sect fell along with the broken cliff and was instantly buried by the earth. Under such circumstances, Wu Yu, who had raced hundreds of miles to the ground, suddenly rushed out, and finally rushed out from the depths of the ground. Zhu followed closely behind. After the two came out, 10 breaths passed before the violent shaking of the surrounding ground stopped. It could be seen that there was no life at all within the radius. Fenglai Dao section. Wu Yu found a corner of Fenglai Dao sect and knew that Fenglai Dao sect had been buried. In fact, he understood that if the cultivators of Fenglai Dao sect were still alive, the earthquake on the ground would have little impact on these cultivators and they would not be buried. However, the Black Mountain ghost wings all appeared here, so the possibility that they are still alive is slim. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Indeed, when Wu Yu struggled to dig out Fenglai Dao sect, he found that under the broken buildings, what he saw were basically corpses, and the death conditions were exactly the same as those of King Mulk City, Lanling sect, etc. Apparently, while Black Mountain Ghost Wing was setting up formation and recuperating here, he took care of the Fenglai Dao sect. Looking at these desperate and frightened faces, the anger in Wu Yu's heart kept rising, and he even blamed himself. I'm sorry, it's our incompetence that allowed this evil spirit to succeed again. Rage boiled inside his body, and his whole body burned like lava. You could see the raging lava inside his body. The arm holding the Jufang demon suppression pillar was also trembling at this time. He was like a giant beast, looking at the devastation all around him. Kingmulk City, Lanling Sect, Sky-Splitting Sword Sect, plus the Wind and Thunder Dao Sect, he has massacred people from 4 factions. Obviously he will not let go of the other 6. I guess he is massacring these 6. A local cultivator to complete his ghost formation. Wu Yu, now is not the time to blame yourself. Since you have made a breakthrough, we should work together to stop him from continuing to do this unscrupulous thing. 9. Ying said calmly. That's right, Wu Yu suppressed his furious heart. This change in terrain is equivalent to burying all the dead, which can be regarded as being buried. Wu Yu didn't have time to linger here. The deceased was the most important, so he knelt down and kowtowed several times. All living beings suffer, and no matter they are mortals or cultivators, they cannot escape the fate of death. I hope you can rest in peace. I will avenge you and sacrifice the spirits of your colleagues in heaven. Then he used a few heretical techniques to smooth out the broken land around him. Don't let anyone disturb these dead souls. Humans, or monsters, have an end in their lives. You should also be more open-minded. Zhu saw that he was angry and comforted him. Wu Yu shook his head and said, No, I don't want the end of my life. Do you want to become an immortal? Zhu asked. No, I must achieve enlightenment and become an immortal. Have ambition. Zhu didn't say much. In fact, being a demon would be very confusing. Although they can keep getting stronger, they don't know what they will become if they practice to the extreme. They will be the same as the ascetics. Arrive at the heavenly palace of heaven and become an immortal, or... There is no answer among the monsters, and it seems that there are no books in history. At least ordinary monsters, or young monsters, don't know it. When the 2 of them were preparing to look for Black Mountain Ghost Wing, in the western sky, there was a burst of blood mist, spreading towards the side, and its speed was very fast. That's Black Mountain Ghost Wing. He didn't go far, he was nearby. Our appearance alarmed him, Zhu said solemnly with his hands behind his back. Wu Yu also saw that there seemed to be a dark figure in the blood cloud. It was Black Mountain Ghost Wing. He became the Haimingshan ghost and god body again, and it was obvious that his injuries had almost recovered. He hasn't gone far yet, which means that he may have spent a lot of time recovering from his injuries and just left. In this way, people from other forces should be safe. After reaching this conclusion, Wu Yu felt a little better. Of course, his hatred and murderous intention towards Black Mountain Ghost Wing still exceeded that of most people before, almost as much as he hated the immortal Haoshan. You 2 little kids are really making a fuss. How dare you destroy my ghost array? Unexpectedly, Black Mountain Ghost Wing was very angry and rushed back, almost cursing, trembling with anger. Wu Yu then understood that it turned out that he rushed out from the ground, turned the surrounding area into flat ground, and actually changed the structure of the ghost array. This must have something to do with the destruction of Fenglai Dao sect. Obviously, Black Mountain Ghost Wing will not be able to continue to deploy the ghost array in a short period of time. Just in time, a fight to the death. Wu Yu and Zhu looked at each other, and Zhu nodded. Although they had not known each other for a short time, they had a tacit understanding. At this time, Zhu directly transformed into the demon body, a ferocious giant beast, blocking Wu Yu's eyes. This ferocious head possesses the negative power of 9 kinds of disasters. It sweeps forward and turns the surrounding area into a gloomy one. This ferocious power is not much weaker than the Black Mountain Ghost Wing that rushes in the rolling sea of blood. I didn't expect you to be able to dig a passage in hell so quickly. It's really haunting. I happened to drink the blood of Fengling Dao sect and almost recovered. This time I dealt with you directly to save you from jumping around and ruining me. Good thing, Haishan Gui Yu Liang's head and mouth were roaring. At that moment, he approached Wu Yu and Zhu. 6 black flags appeared on his 6 arms. When he waved them, black flames suddenly swept across them. \U003 sem \U003e \U003 sem \U003 Follow the official QQ public account, ID, love, read it early, and keep abreast of the latest information \U003c/m \U003e \U003c/m \U003e. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 277. Boom boom boom. Blood clouds rolled in the sky. In the blood clouds, the black mountain ghost wings waved black flags. Suddenly, countless black flames burst out. The flames turned into thick big snakes, hundreds of them, rolling and shuttled in the blood clouds. He looked at Wu Yu and Zhu Ying with eager eyes. This was the time when Black Mountain Ghost Wing, who was able to kill He Daizai, was very angry and his murderous intention was at its heaviest. With recovery from his injuries, his power expanded and reached a frightening level again. Wu Yu was blocked behind by Zhu Ying's huge monster body. He held the Jufang demon suppressing pillar with both hands and closed his eyes. When he stood in this position, Zhu Ying knew how to cooperate without using words. Complete this battle. Boom. Zhu Ying flapped his huge fleshy wings and sped up, shaking the earth for a moment. Wu Yu stepped lightly behind him and followed him to the sky, while Zhu Ying almost faced off with the Black Mountain Ghost Wings. Buzz. At this time, the blood cloud behind Black Mountain Ghost Wing had already been filled with the flame snake of Black Snake. The flame seemed to be the Ghost Mountain soul-eating fire, which was a Taoist technique of Black Mountain Ghost Wing. The two are about to converge in the sky at a very fast speed and face off against each other. It can be seen that Haishan Gi is condescending, with a sarcastic smile in his eyes. The last time he was injured by them in the little ghost battle, it was because he was careless and underestimated Wu Yu, and now the two of them want to repeat the same trick. I wonder if Black Mountain Ghost Wing is so smart, how could he fall into the trap? Forget it, this little guy wants to sneak attack after hiding, I will send you to the Western Paradise first. Black Mountain Ghost Wing secretly sneered. The chapter of has been uploaded. He didn't know how much he hated these two young men, especially Zhu Ying. He felt that if he had to kill people in his career, he would have already chosen Black Mountain Ghost Wing as the first one. Ghost Cultivator, damn it! A fierce collision, on the verge of breaking out. What Zhu Ying wants to accomplish is very simple. It is still his natal magical power. As he approaches the Black Mountain Ghost Wing, his 9 heads are changing and entangled, with 18 eyes and 18 ancient symbols from his bloodline. Gradually took shape, and in an instant, all the disaster forces rotated crazily and converged on a center, which was the disaster vortex. This time the disaster vortex was fully prepared, so it became stronger, almost 30% larger than the last time. Viewed from the ground, a huge gray-black vortex suddenly appeared in the sky, rolling wildly, with burning flames, dark purple lightning shuttles, dark green water mist, and a black storm roaring, sweeping. Zhu Ying's natal magical power is indeed terrifying. This is actually what Black Mountain Ghost Wing is really afraid of. As for the last time, he was injured by the disaster vortex, and Wu Yu's stick was just a distraction for him at best, and he was swallowed by the disaster vortex. Faced with the whirlpool of disaster this time, Black Mountain Ghost Wing did not get out of the way and directly confronted it head-on. In fact, his thoughts were very obvious. He knew that Wu Yu would do something else, so he made full preparations and killed the smart Wu Yu first. These young people just don't have brains. Can they use the same trick twice? Haishan Gi snickered in his heart. In an instant, the vortex of disaster enveloped him again, tearing apart the blood cloud and tearing apart a large number of flaming black snakes. One of the legs of the Black Mountain Ghost Wing had been sucked into the vortex of disaster. So far, it seems that the situation is exactly the same as last time, and the Black Mountain Ghost Wing still looks slightly panicked. Wu Yu. Zhu gave a little reminder. In fact, Wu Yu had been ready for a long time. Behind Zhu, he was already in the state of immortal ape transformation, becoming a golden immortal ape. It was just a slight change from before. This time, his hair was brighter. If he hadn't deliberately hidden it, its power will only become more terrifying, not to mention that with the support of the violence technique, his flesh and blood strength has increased to an unprecedented terrifying level. The violence technique can increase the physical strength by twice, which is equivalent to Wu Yu's current 2 Namo Baya King Buddha's golden body. This terrifying power, even he felt suffocated. This is an extremely terrifying feeling. Wu Yu has the confidence to bring down the sun from the sky. At Zhu reminder, Wu Yu took control of the Zhufang demonic suppression pillar and rushed out instantly. This time, it was still the 9 directions that defeated the army, but in fact, this was Wu Yu's strongest attack and killing method at present, and its power was probably much greater than that of the sword. Buzz. Wu Yu rushed out, landed on the whirlpool of disaster, and directly faced the giant with 6 huge arms. Compared with him at this moment, Wu Yu was still too small. In his hand, the 9 directions suppressing demonic pillar was raised high, and it was more than 2 feet long in an instant. The 9 palaces dragon formation and the 9 directions breaking army formation on it were filled with Dan Yuan and were running wildly. The entire 9 directions suppressing demonic pillar was, like the shining sun, shining brightly on the heaven and earth. Its light blinded the eyes for a while. At this moment, Wu Yu was still trying his best to suppress his own strength and make himself not far different from before. Black Mountain Ghost Wing smiled secretly. This kid has made some progress in just a few days. At this moment, Wu Yu was about to launch the final attack. Black Mountain Ghost Wing had been waiting for a long time. He suddenly laughed in the whirlpool of disaster. When he waved his flag, the hundreds of people who were torn apart by the whirlpool of disaster, a big black flame snake, reunited in a short moment. In an instant, the Ghost Mountain soul-eating fire broke away from the shackles of the whirlpool of disaster and rushed towards Wu Yu. The hundreds of flaming snakes in the sky are frightening no matter how you look at them. This was the method that Black Mountain Ghost Wing wanted to kill Wu Yu first. He felt it was ridiculous that Wu Yu was so ignorant that he had to use the same method twice. Black Mountain Ghost Wing laughed. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. At a certain moment, he looked at Wu Yu, who was wielding the 9 directions suppressing demon pillar and smashing it. He was shocked because what he saw was a pair of extremely calm, even cold eyes. Under normal circumstances, when Wu Yu saw them fighting back, shouldn't he be afraid? Ah, my eyes, Hai Shengi! I never expected that. The moment he looked at Wu Yu, his eyes burned with golden flames. In just a short moment, the 4 eyeballs on his 2 heads was burned directly to ashes, and there were no eyeballs in those eyes, and they became empty. Black Mountain Ghost Wing felt fear and severe pain. What he couldn't see was that Wu Yu's shocking stick exploded with all his strength and fell from the sky. All the flaming snakes wherever he went were directly turned into ashes. The terrifying strength and speed just passed by in a flash and broke everything. Hit Hai Shengi directly on the head. Boom! Black Mountain Ghost Wing only felt a desperate pain, but he didn't know that his 2 heads were smashed directly, and even the Black Mountain Ghost God's body was cracked. At the last moment, he didn't know what happened, or where Wu Yu had changed to launch such a terrifying attack. One blow, fatal. No, the dissipation of consciousness made Black Mountain Ghost Wing realize that death was coming. He kept recalling where he had gone wrong. The time was too short and he couldn't understand it at all. He only remembered that Wu Yu burned his eyes with his gaze. Then, the only impression he had was his cold eyes. From now on, I don't know anything. I'm dead. The last thing he realized was that he felt that he had been submerged in the whirlpool of disaster. It's over. Wu Yu breathed a sigh of relief. He relaxed his sore arms and returned to his human form. He also put away the Zhifang demon suppressing pillar. Wearing only a pair of trousers, he fell from the sky to the ground. The moment he stepped on the ground, there was another large area. The ground trembled, and one could imagine that although he was in human form, his weight was estimated to be equal to that of a 100-foot-tall beast, or even heavier. Looking up again, there is a big gray rotating ball in the sky. It is the second state of the disaster vortex. Now the big gray ball is spinning very calmly. Next to it, Zhu has transformed into a human form and is spinning next to the big ball. Not long after, the big gray ball shrank to only the size of a palm, which meant that the Black Mountain ghost wings did not even leave any corpse behind, but were turned into ashes. Black Mountain ghost wing is dead. This result made Wu Yu feel a little relieved. It was finally over. He didn't expect that by joining forces, they could actually kill this crazy and careless demon. My mood is empty now. After so many people have died, my mood will definitely not get better. Even if I get some merit, it doesn't seem worth being happy. After all, Hidayazai and the others who came with him are all dead. 5 Huangjian level disciples, this is already a big deal for Xuanhuan. Thinking of Hidayazai, Wu Yu remembered one thing. He was not in the imp's defeat formation now, so he could use the communication talisman. When the kid came out of Zhuzhan, he and Zhu were anxious to rush to Fenglai Dao sect, so Wu Yu did not notify Shenzingyu again. Now that the matter has been resolved, and the truth is not the work of the demon, Wu Yu felt the need to immediately go to the Fenglai Dao section. Shenzingyu explained the cause and effect. To save the situation in Xuanhuan, we still don't know what happened and it was very confusing. He took out the communication talisman and briefly explained the purpose and behavior of Black Mountain Ghost Wing. As for the involvement of Zhu, he hesitated a little. In fact, he and Zhu had defeated Black Mountain Ghost Wing and wanted others to believe it. It was impossible for him to do it by himself. The Zhu was a demon after all. Is it appropriate to say so? Will he be punished by Xuanhuan? However, concealing it was not the right thing to do. After all, it would always be found out, so Wu Yu told the truth. However, in the description, he only stated that he and Zhu acted together to survive, so this probably didn't mean anything. After the situation was explained clearly, hundreds of words were written on the talisman, which was almost the limit of the communication talisman. Wu Yu activated the talisman and let it fly back to Xuanhuan. At this time, Zhu fell down and said, "Actually, it was you who killed Black Mountain Ghost Wing. If he fell into the whirlpool of disaster again, he would be dead." Wu Yu said, "It doesn't matter who killed him. What matters is that he is finally dead. It's important. Since you killed him, these things belong to you." Several sumuru bags appeared in Zhu hands, which were the relics of Black Mountain Ghost Wing. /U003 sem /U003e /U003 sem /U003 Follow the official QQ public account, ID, love, read it early, and keep abreast of the latest information. /U003c/m /U003e /U003c/m /U003e. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 278. Wu Yu had forgotten all this. As a monk, some ways to increase wealth are to search for geniuses and treasures, and some to work for the section. However, externally, the real way to get rich is to rob other people's treasures. As the saying goes, kill and seize treasure. Many murders are done to seize treasures. If a person dies, his belongings will always be obtained by others. Therefore, in the monastic world, after killing an enemy, it is a matter of course to take away his belongings. Of course, if you kill people randomly just for money, that is an evil act. Generally, Righteous practitioners will not do such things. There is another situation, such as Qingsang City and Lanling sect, where there are thousands of cultivators. Even if each person only has a little money, the total amount will be a lot. However, they were all innocent dead, at least Wu Yu couldn't plunder their belongings. Of course, even if you do it, it doesn't mean anything. The same reason was true for Wu Yu's last treasure hunt in the ancient battlefield. In fact, if a person dies, the treasures around him are meaningless. After all, they can't be taken away. When Zhu brought these bags of sumuru to Wu Yu waved his hands and said, "Let's join hands to kill the enemy." This can't be calculated like this. Unexpectedly, Zhu directly threw those sumuru bags into Wu Yu's hands and said, "Our demon clan's cultivation methods are not exactly the same as yours. Most of the things that ghosts cultivate are useless to me. If you take them back to Xuanhuan, I guess I can also exchange for some achievements. To be honest, it's of no use to me. Besides, I have a high status in the Endless Demon Sea, so as you can guess, I can basically have as many cultivation resources as I want." This last sentence really made Wu Yu depressed. The things that I strive for desperately, when I meet people with high status like Nangongwei and Zhu, I can really get as much as I want. It really can't be compared in this aspect. Zhu was more determined in his work. If Wu Yu struggled with him again, he would probably throw it to the ground. He could see that Wu Yu's status in Xuanhuan was not high, otherwise he would not complete such a task. Wu Yu still needs these belongings quite a lot. In this case, he is not being pretentious. Among these sumuru bags, each sumuru bag was extremely huge. One of the sumuru bags even contained many corpses, among which Hidayazai and others were among them. Wu Yu first took out their corpses. When they came out, as for their belongings, they had already been distributed to other sumi bags by Black Mountain Ghost Wing and became his own. The dead were the largest, so Wu Yu arranged their corpses. One of them had been eaten, and the remaining 4 could only wait for the people from Xuanhuan to arrive before sending them back to Xuanhuan together. Thinking of their meeting at Xiang's Sword Palace, they still looked down upon themselves, but unexpectedly, they were all turned into corpses now. Destiny is indeed unpredictable. Wu Yu briefly flipped through the remaining sumuru bags, and it was absolutely thrilling. This Black Mountain Ghost Wing probably killed too many people, and had no fixed place to live, so he probably carried all the treasures with him. His things were so messy that he could not see clearly for a while. Among them were dozens of psychic instruments, the swords of Hidayazai and others, as well as various ghost cultivation techniques. Due to Haitian Ghost Wing's obsession with magic circles, among them there are several books on magic formations, but most of them are evil magic formation books and are not suitable for Wu Yu. There are also countless fairies, talismans, treasures, etc. Among the fairies, there are many fairies with 3 spiritual lines. Although Black Mountain Ghost Wing is not good at refining elixirs, there are more than 3,000 Yuanjin elixirs in several sumuru bags, which is equivalent to 3,000 merits. Some of them should belong to Hidayazai and the others, but they were mixed together. Wu Yu didn't know which part of them they were, and it wasn't easy to separate them. Obviously, this Black Mountain Ghost Wing actually killed people to seize treasures, which is why he looked down on the treasures of the monks in Qingsang City and was too lazy to waste time collecting them. 3,000 yuan of golden elixir is a lot, but Bailey Fi Hung, who is much stronger than Black Mountain Ghost Wing, is probably not that much. After all, daily practice and purchasing various magical instruments often require consumption. These 3,000 yuan of golden elixir basically solved Wu Yu's financial distress problem to a large extent. You must know that he was rewarded with 500 yuan for merit in this mission, which is already a lot. Black Mountain Ghost Wing often arranges magic circles, which consumes a lot of money, but he can still maintain 3,000 yuan of golden elixir on his body. It is also a surprise to Wu Yu. However, he was still very calm. Since Hedaizai and the others were Xuanhuan disciples, according to the rules, after their fellow disciples died in battle, their belongings would be returned to Xuanhuan. It was estimated that some of them would need to be handed over. He didn't study too much what Black Mountain Ghostwing left behind, because he knew that he might have to say goodbye to Zhuiying. People from Xuanhuan will come here soon, and it is not safe for Zhuiying to stay here. Zhuiying pursed his lips and said, "That's the case, so I'll leave first." Wu Yu, there are billions of living beings in this world. It's fate that I can meet you here, and I like you. We'll see each other again today, but I hope we have a chance to meet again someday. Wu Yu said, "There is still a long time to come. As long as our lives are not lost, there will always be a chance to meet again. I just hope that we will not be enemies by then." Zhuiying smiled. He also knew that the two were humans and demons respectively. There was a feud between the two clans, and sometimes they couldn't help it. "Don't worry, I won't kill you. I, Zhuiying, would never do anything to my friends," he said firmly. "In that case, I can do it too." The other party dared to be so decisive, and Wu Yu was not afraid of commitment. Although there would definitely be many changes in the future, he was not worried. Zhuiying said, "To be honest, I think you are a peerless genius. You will definitely become famous all over the world and become a famous figure in the future. And I, Zhuiying, am no worse than you. Therefore, there will always be opportunities to meet again, and I won't be too pretentious. Farewell." This chapter is not over. Please click on the next page to continue reading. In life, it is difficult to find a close friend. Farewell. Wu Yu cupped his hands and smiled faintly. Now that the sun was setting in the west, there were many light and shadows. On the flattened land, two figures stood tall and stretched. The young man is hot-blooded and has a heart as pure as a child. How can he know that he will be in trouble in the future and that he may not be able to control it? I'm afraid today's promise is a bit too early. Zhuiying turned around and left, and Wu Yu watched him leave. He was thinking that after Zhuiying left, he would stay here and wait for the people from Xuanhuan to arrive before going back together. Then the plan is to use a large amount of Yuan Jindan to pile up after returning, and practice to the 4th level of Jindan Dao realm. By then, his strength will be even more terrifying. Now, I really feel how terrifying the Monkey King is. I have only learned a rough idea of his various methods, and that's it. Wu Yu is full of expectations for the future, at least after reaching the 5th level of the Jindan Dao realm. He is looking forward to the first Dao magical power. In anticipation, Wu Yu was suddenly stunned. I don't know why, but at this moment, he felt suffocated, as if he suddenly became powerless and then appeared in a very dangerous place. He felt extremely insecure. Wu Yu. Zhuiying suddenly turned around, his face pale. He looked at himself in horror, and almost shouted, "Go away." Wu Yu didn't react. He felt that his thinking was slow and he didn't even know what happened. He looked at Zhuiying in shock. Now Zhuiying was very panicked. In fact, he was not so panicked when he faced Black Mountain Ghostwing before. In an instant, it turned dark. The sun was clearly setting in the west, and it would be at least half an hour before night began to fall. But now it was suddenly dark, and it was so dark that it was as if the sky and the earth were directly covered by a black pot. There was no light at all, not even Wu Yu himself. The golden light dimmed at this time. Zhuiying looked at him anxiously, but Wu Yu noticed that he seemed unable to move and his expression did not change. And until this time, Wu Yu also realized that it seemed that he couldn't even move. No wonder I feel so insecure. It turns out I can't even move. Like Zhuiying, they were fixed here. Of course, this was not a fixation technique, but some kind of existence, holding them here with a strength far beyond theirs. Wu Yu, we are finished. A being far beyond you has appeared. It is almost close to what I was capable of back then, Ming Long suddenly said dejectedly. Just as he finished speaking, Wu Yu seemed to see an extremely huge shadow appearing in the dark sky behind Zhu. The shadow spread from the ground to the sky, and was at least 1,000 feet long. It is curved and coiled, as if it looks like a snake. It cannot be seen clearly. The only thing that can be seen clearly is that there are 2 green suns in the sky. The suns only appear green without any light. The entire sun is dark green. The sky and the earth are still black. But Wu Yu soon understood that it was not the sun, but the 2 eyes of the monster that suddenly appeared. In just an instant, Wu Yu and Zhu Ying moved almost at the same time. They were swallowed up into the sky by a domineering force. Soon Wu Yu discovered that he and Zhu Ying were attracted by a dark green and transparent light. The ball was shrouded in it. The ball of light was centered on Zhu Ying, and it just happened to include Wu Yu. The 2 of them couldn't move and kept moving towards the position slightly downward between the 2 suns. If Wu Yu guessed correctly, that should be the position of the monster's mouth. When Wu Yu realized this, he was already in front of the monster. The turquoise green in front of him was like a vast lake, possessing an indifferent power that shocked the soul. Wu Yu did not dare to look into these eyes. At this moment, the ball of light where he and Zhu Ying were was seemed to be swallowed by the giant beast, drifting in the endless darkness. Only then did the oppressive feeling all over the body disappear. The 2 of them were at this moment. Only then did they regain the ability to move, but the transparent ball of light restricted their space. It was obvious that no matter how hard they tried, they could not get out of the ball of light. Zhu Ying was very anxious and shouted outside, "Uncle Ba! You swallowed my friend too. It doesn't matter if you take me back, but let my friend out quickly." However, the other party did not respond at all. "Uncle Ba! Damn it! This idiot with no intelligence." Zhu Ying's face turned red with anger. After smashing the ball of light a few times, he looked at Wu Yu helplessly and said guiltily, "I'm sorry, this is terrible. I'm afraid I'll hurt you." As expected, there will be an update tonight. /U003 sem /U003e /U003 sem /U003 follow the official QQ public account, ID, love, read it early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003c/m /U003e /U003c/m /U003e. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 279. Chapter 278 Supreme Hunting Ground. This change came so suddenly that so far, Wu Yu's mind was almost blank. It took him a while to realize that he must have been swallowed by a big snake. This was a very scary big snake. Even Ming Long said it was terrible. Zhu Ying called the big snake Uncle Ba and said that it had no intelligence and might have harmed him. He took a deep breath, calmed down, and asked, "Zhu Ying, don't worry, tell me what's going on, and then figure out a solution. Things have happened, and there is no point in complaining." Zhu Ying was a little angry, but seeing Wu Yu's calm eyes, he calmed down and said, "That's right, you also saw a big snake appear before, and it's the guy who swallowed us up now. In addition, the name is Ba Snake, and he is a big demon who was born with my father. He can be regarded as a brother of my father. However, because he is a companion beast, this Ba Snake has no intelligence, although it is extremely powerful and reaches the level of the soul realm, but in essence it is similar to a wild beast, unable to communicate, and can only communicate with my father's mind and listen to my father's orders. This time he must have been called by my father to take me back to Yunmengai." Wu Yu was a little stunned. He was very unfamiliar with the term companion beast. In fact, even very weak demons, such as Wanqing, had sanity and could live in the palace as humans. However, This giant beast in the realm of soul, it is strange that he has no intelligence. So, he was going to take you away. I'm afraid it was because I was too close to you and he didn't have the intelligence to bring me in. If you couldn't communicate with him, he would separate me and you. Bringing back the endless demonic sea together, Wu Yu guessed from Zhuing's anxious reaction. Zwixen chapter /U0026 G Xiao. Just say it in Hey Smoke Ge. Zhuing nodded helplessly and said, yes, that's exactly the case. If I can communicate with him, I will definitely let you go immediately. This idiot has all the demon power, but... In other words, it is very likely that he will be mistakenly taken to the distant endless sea of demons. Of course, most demons call it Yunmengai. After that, let me come back. Although it has wasted a lot of time, there is nothing you can do. Wu Yu could only do this. He guessed that if he had been further away from Zhu at that time, he would not have been included. Unexpectedly, Zhu shook his head, full of apologies, and said, there may be some trouble. Because I came out of the supreme hunting ground, and with my father's temper, I am afraid that Uncle Ba will throw me directly into it. Supreme hunting ground, you will probably be thrown there when the time comes. In supreme hunting ground, if I don't complete the hunting mission, I won't be able to get out. What's more, you are a human being, so it may be even harder to get out. Wu Yu was completely stunned when he heard this. However, at least he was still alive now, but it seemed that it was a bit difficult to return to Shushan. The development of things was completely unexpected. Wu Yu Juiying suddenly looked at him and said, to tell you the truth, my father is the master of Yunmengai, the supreme leader of the demons, and the land of God calls him the infant emperor. When Wu Yu heard this, he was frightened. He thought he heard wrongly, but Juiying was very serious and obviously would not joke about this kind of thing. Wu Yu remembered that when he was reading the biographies of Shenzhou, he was introduced to this old demon from the endless demonic sea. It is said to be the great enemy of Shu Mountain, a terrifying old monster that has existed for countless years. According to legend, it is ferocious, violent, arbitrary, cruel, and ruthless. Has caused catastrophes on the divine continent several times, requiring the joint efforts of many righteous people to suppress it, and has only recently retreated into the endless sea of demons. The king of the demons is this infant emperor. Meeting a random monster turned out to be the son of the infant emperor. This was incredible luck. No wonder Zhu Ying's demonic bloodline is so powerful. He is the son of the Ying emperor, so he should have these abilities. It seems that the Ying Huang has never had any heirs, and Zhu Ying is very young. It has obviously happened in the past 10 years. I am afraid that not many people in the entire divine continent know about it. Before Wu Yu could react, Zhu Ying said with a grimace, the problem is that this old guy is too stubborn, too harsh on me, and even forces me to kill people. This time he wants to put me in the supreme hunting ground. I had to kill someone. I escaped before I went in, but I didn't escape for a few days. I was not found underground before. My uncle Ba took me away as soon as I came out. He said last time that I didn't want to do it. If I break out of the supreme hunting ground, I will never see him again in this life. If I are thrown in, the sky will not respond and the earth will not work. Zhu Ying was afraid of being thrown directly in. If he could communicate with other demons outside the supreme hunting ground, he might be able to send Wu Yu away. Of course, that's assuming those monsters don't hate Wu Yu. But no matter what, he was the son of the infant emperor, so Wu Yu's life should not be in danger if he was mistakenly captured like this. There is nothing we can do now. We can only wait for you, Uncle Ba, to take us to the Yunmengai. Wu Yu saw that the other party called himself Yunmengai, so he didn't want to talk about the endless demonic sea. That's right. Okay, then this supreme hunting ground is a very good place. Zhu Ying looked a little embarrassed and said, you might be angry when I talk about it. It doesn't matter. Wu Yu was still calm. Zhu said, the supreme hunting ground is a training ground for our demon clan. As the name suggests, it is a place where some of our young demons hunt. It is divided into 10 levels, each level is a completely closed world, and then the adjacent 10 levels are interconnected. In each world, there are many preys. You should have guessed what the prey would be for us demon clan. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Wu Yu instantly thought of the demonic abyss. Sure enough, karma pays off. He is a man, a cultivator, Wu Yu said. Yes, there are cultivators from various major sects in Shenzhou, the Tianyi clan, and even many ghost cultivators from the East China Sea. Basically, they are all prisoners of our demon clan, and they are thrown into the supreme hunting ground by the elders for the young. In the supreme hunting ground, they have to defeat enough monsters to get the chance to leave. As for us demons, we have to pass through the 10 levels and obtain 10 slavery bands before we can leave the supreme hunting ground. If you succeed, you will not only receive many rewards, but also gain a high status. Sure enough, this setting is almost exactly the same as the demonic abyss. But obviously, the people in their supreme hunting ground will be more powerful than the demons in the demon abyss. Of course, the demonic abyss belongs to the mortal sword domain. Wu Yu doesn't know if there will be similar places in the 4 major sword domains of Qingtianshu Mountain. Presumably, there should be. The monks use demons to practice swordsmanship, and the demons regard the monks as hunting targets. The cycle of cause and effect leads to unsatisfactory retribution. Zhu Ying continued, to tell you the truth, the real situation is this. When we demon clan enters the supreme hunting ground, we need to kill a cultivator at each level in order to obtain the slavery ban planted on them. This is my demon clans. We are a special psychic weapon, but the ascetics can only obtain the demon prohibition we carry by defeating us. Once we severely injure or kill the demons, they will be killed directly by the big demon law enforcers. The only way to leave seems to be to collect 50 demon bands. Although Zhu Ying felt guilty, Wu Yu actually knew very well that the setting was almost no different from the demonic abyss. In the demonic abyss, the demons were the prey, and they could not kill the Xuanhuan disciples. In order to explain clearly to Wu Yu, Zhu Ying continued, you may not quite understand that the demon clan advocates real strength and does not admire demons with no strength and status. Although I am the son of the Ying Emperor, I am willing to work in Yunmangai. Very few listen to what I say. Unless I can see my father, you will definitely be hated. I am worried that they will treat you as an enslaved monk and put you into the supreme hunting ground, waiting for you to be trained. Come challenge. Is there such a thing? This is a bit different from Xuanhuan. In Xuanhuan, as long as you reveal your identity, whose disciples and descendants are, regardless of their strength, you will be respected and respected. If Wu Yu could become a disciple of the Galaxy Sword Master, I am afraid that many heavenly sword level disciples would please him. This may be due to the difference in the way of thinking between humans and demons. If I were put into the supreme hunting ground, just like the fox demon in the demonic abyss, what would be the outcome? Wu Yu knew it when he saw the normally calm Zhu Ying with a grimace on his face. New cultivators will be given a slavery ban, and will be placed in one of the 10 levels based on their actual combat capabilities. They will not be able to reach other levels without permission. If their strength changes, they will soon be transferred to a stronger first-level hunting ground. Until 50 demon bands are collected, however, I will definitely try to get you out safely. I believe someone will give me a little face. In this regard, Zhu Ying doesn't seem to be the same. Extremely confident. Nothing can be determined now, we can only wait until BA Snake releases himself. Wu Yu never expected that he would be like this, reaching the endless sea of demons that he was slightly curious about, but more in awe of, this world belonging to demons. It is said that there are endless monsters here, which are so big that they can block out the sky and the sun, and they are so small that they are invisible to the naked eye but can easily kill people. Even rocks, trees, and even discarded debris will become invisible after a long time. It is possible to become a demon. A snake's speed is terrifying. It won't be long before he reaches the supreme hunting ground of the endless demonic sea. Wu Yu, I'm so sorry. Zhu Ying was still feeling very guilty. The key was that he himself was very depressed. A snake was simply a completely brainless beast. Normally, he would never change his mind in whatever the infant emperor asked him to do. The tasks are completed with utmost precision. Thinking of those green eyes, as calm as a lake, there really was no sense of intelligence. This is also part of destiny. Even if you really have to defeat 50 demons before you can go out, just think of it as training. I don't care Wu Yu thought about it. Anyway, going back to Xuanhuan now is just for cultivation, and Nangong Wei is far from coming out. The only pity is that the mission has been completed and I haven't gone to collect the merit yet. I hope that when I go out, Xuanhuan will not forget this matter. There will be another chapter at around 2200 hours. /U003 sem /U003e /U003 sem /U003 follow the official QQ public account, ID, love, read it early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003c/m /U003e /U003c/m /U003e. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 280. One day, a large group of sword cultivators came in force and landed on the site of Fenglai Dao sect. The leader, with flying purple robes and beauty like a flower, was none other than Shenzingyu. She was a little anxious and searched many places. Finally, everyone gathered at Fenglai Dao section according to local forces. They found the Xuanhuan sword here. Xiu's body. After receiving the communication talisman from Wu Yu, Shenzingyu caught up with the team that had set out for 2 days and informed them that the battle was over and the truth had been revealed. Hearing that 5 Huangjian level disciples had died in succession from the Soul Palace, Xuanhuan immediately sent more than 20 Huangjian level disciples to come for support, including Earth Sword level disciples at the 8th and 9th levels of the Golden Elixir Dao realm. On the way, Shenzingyu had explained clearly what happened and the result. The Huangjian level disciples, who had been facing a formidable enemy, were relieved to hear that the matter had been resolved. However, they raised several doubts. First, what kind of monster is the monster that Wu Yu mentioned that accidentally entered this place, and what kind of strength is it? Secondly, Wu Yu was only at the 3rd level of the Golden Core realm. How could he cooperate with the demon to kill the ghost cultivator who killed He Daizai? Logically speaking, Wu Yu should be the weakest in the team and the easiest to be killed directly. Shenzingyu said that their questions would be resolved when they met Wu Yu. A group of people came here and found the bodies of He Daizai and the others. Everyone rushed forward. The death conditions of He Daizai and the others were undoubtedly very miserable. Before Wu Yu had time to sort out, he was taken away by a snake. He Daizai, Ye Jingming, Gu Hongming, these are all outstanding young disciples. Their masters are all practicing in seclusion. Otherwise, they would have to catch up after hearing the news. I heard that a heavenly sword level disciple is already on the way. He will probably arrive soon. By the way, Wu Yu is not dead, but where is Wu Yu? Why haven't you sorted out the remains of several senior brothers and sisters after such a long time? Several old men were a little dissatisfied and began to yell loudly, looking for Wu Yu, but after everyone searched around, they could not find Wu Yu. Shenzingyu, Wu Yu's correspondence with you should have explained his location. Shenzingyu was wondering when she said, he said he would wait for us near Fenglai Dao section. Why is there no trace? She can't find Wu Yu now. For a moment, no one could figure it out. Shenzingyu stared in all directions with his beautiful eyes and said, maybe I have to leave temporarily because of something. Let's wait for him first. I also have some questions that I need to ask him. Everyone was not in a hurry. This Black Mountain Ghost Wing, I found his information. His realm is between the 7th and 8th levels of the Golden Cordeo realm. He is extremely good at magic formations. The protective magic formations of these sects are basically ineffective for him. It is reasonable for Hedayazai to be defeated by him. This demon is so cunning that he used such a method to attract my Shushan disciples. This debt must be settled. Who do you want to count? This man is alone and has no friends. Do you want to kill all the ghost cultivators? This matter must have caused a certain sensation in Shushan. They came here this time and shouldered the important task of clarifying the matter thoroughly. Everyone collected the bodies of Hidayazai and the others, and then mobilized the remaining 6 forces to bury the comrades who had suffered misfortune in the accident. Of course, Shushan, as the protector of them, also gave these sects some small comfort, so that they came out of their panic. By asking the Lord of Qingsang City, everyone also got a rough idea of the situation of the demon Wu Yu mentioned. However, the Lord of Qingsang City has been on the run and does not know what happened to Fenglai Dao sect later. Originally waiting for Wu Yu's return, but unexpectedly, there was no trace for a day, and everyone was very impatient, so Shenzingyu decided to search separately. More than 20 people separated, and within half a day, they searched almost all nearby places. There was no trace of Wu Yu, and when they finally gathered at Fenglai Dao sect, everyone's expressions were already a little ugly. Among the crowd, a very young Huangjian level disciple suddenly came out. He turned out to be Zhao Xianxian. He heard the news here and it involved Wu Yu, so he asked to follow him. At this time, he looked serious and said, "Elders, Wu Yu has not shown up so far. I believe you all have the same doubts as me. Let me put my doubts out. That is, I doubt the authenticity of the truth told by Wu Yu's summons talisman. I think, here there are too many doubts. His so-called truth is probably a fabrication, and even the existence of ghost cultivators may be a fabrication. Don't talk nonsense. I have heard of the Oniju formation. There are clearly some Oniju formation bases nearby, and only people like Black Mountain Ghost Wing can do such a thing. Demons are not good at magic formations." Shenzingyu glared at him and said. Everyone knew that Zhao Xianxian was very unconvinced when he was defeated by Wu Yu. Zhao Xianxian refused to give in and said, "That means that he and the demon did not defeat Haishan Gi at all. Haishan Gi was not dead, but they escaped, but they were afraid of taking responsibility, so they made up lies." Shenzingyu said, "We don't know whether Haishan Gi is dead, but even if he is not dead, there is no need for Wu Yu to make up such lies. His strength is not as good as Haishan Gi. Even if he escapes back to Shushan, it is the right thing to do. Zhao Xianxian, don't be jealous of a gentleman with a villain's heart." After hearing what Shenzingyu said, Zhao Xianxian blushed and said angrily, "Anyway, I don't believe that Wu Yu can kill Black Mountain Ghost Wing with a demon. He even violated the basic principles of my Shushan disciples together with the demon. I suspect that he colluded with the demon and was too ashamed to see his fellow Shushan disciples again, so he ran away. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading." He said it angrily, but no one paid attention to him for the time being, because everyone knew that the truth of this matter could only be completely cleared up after seeing Wu Yu. As for Black Mountain Ghost Wing, it was obvious that his ghost formation was not successful. He might have died or escaped. But obviously, Shenzingyu believed Wu Yu. She knew that Wu Yu would not lie to her about this matter, so the only question she was thinking about was, where did Wu Yu go? Could it be that he returned to Shushan first? Or, something happened that he couldn't control, and it happened after he sent me a message. She asked others to investigate the truth, and she followed the clues to find Wu Yu's trace. She roughly understood that Wu Yu had stayed nearby at the end, but it seemed that he didn't go anywhere else. It was as if he suddenly disappeared. The whole investigation lasted for a month. Shen Xingyu also learned through the communication talisman that Wu Yu did not return to Shushan. She even used her connections to let all the sects near Shushan pay attention to Wu Yu's whereabouts and notify Wu Yu to return to Shushan as soon as possible, but what made her full of doubts was that Wu Yu disappeared completely as if he had evaporated from the face of the earth. There are also several versions of the truth about this matter circulating in Shushan. After all, there are too many doubts, and it is difficult for people not to suspect. Some people even speculated that Wu Yu joined forces with demons and ghost cultivators to kill his senior brothers and sisters, seized their property, and then fled to the ghost cultivation land in the East China Sea and became a ghost cultivator. Zhao Xianxian had been to the scene, so many people asked him about it. Zhao Xianxian listed the doubts one after another, leading people to suspect Wu Yu. To be honest, the death of 5 Huangjian level disciples was a big deal, but this matter was confusing. After a long time, it was not clear. Finally, it was said that it was a Tianjian level disciple who stepped in. Through some clues, it was found that the ghost cultivator Black Mountain Ghost Wing did appear and eventually died on the spot, while Wu Yu and the demon he mentioned seemed to disappear out of thin air without a trace. Over time, people accepted the fact that Wu Yu, a peerless genius who had just emerged, was missing. It is said that Shen Xingyu did not give up and searched for 2 months, but there was no trace at all. One day 2 months later, in Fenglai Dao sect, Shen Xingyu stood on this flat land. After investigation by Tianjian level disciples, it was said that during the battle, Wu Yu and the demon seemed to be trapped deep underground by a magic array called the Gate of Hell, but there was a very domineering force that directly overturned the land of hundreds of miles and rushed out, and then fought a life and death battle with Black Mountain Ghost Wing here. Wu Yu, what changes have you experienced here? Under the breeze, the purple earrings hanging on Shen Xingyu's ears made a crisp sound like wind chimes. Suddenly, a star appeared in the sky, vaguely forming a human figure in front of Shen Xingyu. "Brother, what's wrong? Did you find him?" Shen Xingyu asked excitedly. The other party shook his head. "This is the Galaxy Sword Saint Shen Xinjiao. There was a very scary demon nearby." As expected, Wu Yu was taken away, Shen Xinjiao said. "Even you find it scary? What on earth is that?" "I don't know. It's too far beyond the level." Shen Xingyu could only feel depressed. How could Wu Yu encounter such an existence? What should we do? He can only rely on himself for this matter. I can't do anything, and other people in Shushan can't help him either. Okay. I think he is still a good kid. What a pity. Shen Xingyu bit her red lips, her expression a little bleak. By the way, brother, you obviously care about him. Why didn't you accept him as your apprentice? Shen Xingyu couldn't figure it out. Shen Xinjiao was silent for a moment, and said, "I have different paths and temperaments from him. There is no place to guide him. At most, I can only give him some shelter. But for him, shelter may not be beneficial. It is better to let him experience more hardships before he can become a great man. I don't accept him as a disciple, which is good for him. Now that his life and death are unknown, do you think your approach is still correct?" Shen Xinjiao said without hesitation, "If he can get out of this difficulty, then it will be the time for him to truly shine." Today's 5 updates are completed. Thank you for watching. Mobile users.